Advisory meeting for July 21st. My name is Bill Brown. I'm the chair.
January.
January, what did I say? July.
January.
I got my J's mixed up. It's been, the last night was a long night at the commission. The night before was a long night watching the IU game. And I was going to ask the fire chief to sing my IU alma mater song. So since he was rooting for Miami and I was rooting for.
I was gonna say, is it the Miami game? I guess
Yeah.
not.
So I'd like to call, roll call.
Ms. Belker, Mr. Kale,
Present.
Mr. DiGirolamo,
Present.
Mr. Goff, Mr. Jeffress is online.
Present.
Ms. Matilda Thompson. Present. Ms. Milroy. Here. Mr. Ortolani.
Here.
Ms. Perryman Jones.
Here.
And Chair Brown.
Okay.
Oh, and this is Melinda Bowker. I don't know if you noticed me. I'm here online.
So the first order of business we will have to do is take a vote to allow Alyssa and also Jeffrey to join us or join us by via Zoom.
Melinda.
Melinda and Jason.
Yeah.
Melinda and Jason, I'm sorry, via Zoom. So does that require a roll call vote or just, okay, So- okay, we'll do, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
I have a motion first.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by
Motion to allow them to join.
Alyssa, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, and they can't vote though.
They can,
They can?
yes.
Okay.
Informed that they can.
Okay. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposition?
No.
No. Very good. Before you should have received in your packet the approval of the last meeting minutes. Hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to look at them. Are there any additions, corrections? Melinda, Jason,
No.
or corrections?
No edits from me.
Very good. Okay, so Chair will entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Max. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
vote? Minutes are approved as submitted. Did anyone sign up from the general public tonight?
I wanted to speak. I didn't know I was supposed to sign up. How?
Estelle, you just, we'll let you speak, but you can sign up. But
After.
yeah, just get with her after. But Estelle Brennan,
I just.
yep.
Okay. Hi, my name is Estelle Brennan. I'm the president of the Riverside Park Residents Association. And I'm here tonight to talk to Budget Committee about thinking about adding a budget line item as soon as possible. I don't know if you do anything mid-year, but definitely for fiscal year for public service aids for our public schools that are experiencing extreme traffic at pickup and drop off. We're Riverside Park and we're home to Stranahan High School. And this has been an ongoing problem. I have a neighborhood mobility study from the 80s that even talks to the pickup and drop off traffic at Stranahan High School. In the specific scenario, this is happening on Southwest 18th Ave. There's a road closure. And the way student and pickup drop off works is you either sign your student up as a walker or you sign them up as being picked up. There are some parents that are signing their students up as walkers, but they're circumventing the system by pulling into different side streets in the vicinity and to pick up their students and having them just walk a short distance. We've asked many times from the city and PD for various solutions. And the solution that as an association we've always supported is these PSAs. The PD has been staffing some PSAs currently there this school year, and they did it a little bit last year. And it has been, the residents that have been complaining to us have told us that it has like a 90% success rate from their point of view as to curbing the situation with the traffic. I attended the District 4 Zoom Town Hall meeting in August of this year to ask, when they talked about the $17 million budget for PD, if they could add in for these public service aids. On the call, there were some very, very rough numbers, trying to find out where they came from. I sent some emails a couple days ago, and I've gone through Commissioner Soren's office to try to get some details. But at the time in August, some numbers were thrown around. And it was like roughly, they said, like, I think it was like $160,000 or $180,000 to get a PSA set up, with that falling off after somebody was established. And when I had talked to Police Chief Schultz over the summer, he mentioned that Stranahan was one of a handful of schools that have these really severe traffic issues. So to solve the problem as a whole, I believe a number that was brought about at that town hall meeting was somewhere upwards of like over 800,000 at the time, to get enough aid for all the schools to solve the problem holistically, which is what we would love to see. I also mentioned that maybe having one, because I know Riverland also has a problem, maybe funding one that is shared between Stranahan and Riverland as some sort of, test use case to justify money for, holistically the whole city. That would be great too. One response I did get back from Director Reese was that PD is running their own numbers right now from the current school year, from August till now, to get some current, more stable numbers. But I just wanted to be here to represent our neighborhood and our residents, and ask that you please consider putting the line item to fund at least a test use case for more. We'd love to see it solved holistically, but we would love for you to evaluate that at the mid-year and going into next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming out to speak. We know that this has been an ongoing challenge for you and your neighbors. And PD is running a pilot program right now where they're using overtime instead of dedicating new FTEs. They're utilizing some of our existing FTEs to staff these locations. It's not just Stranahan, but there were a couple of targeted, as you mentioned, there were a couple of targeted schools that needed some additional support. They have seen success from that program. And what they're also seeing is that with success comes changes in behavior. They will always probably need to have a ad hoc basis present at those locations, but they have seen success in the program. So just so you all know, it was something that was advanced. Instead of adding new FTEs, it was something that we did using existing staff members to support it, but it is using overtime. So we'll be evaluating that as part of the budget process this year, looking at the outcomes of the pilot program and looking at the costs associated with it to make sure that we're presenting those options as we prepare to build the next budget. But the pilot program is ongoing.
I'm aware of that. I just wanted to make sure you all know that my residents have come to me and expressed gratitude, and the full-time presence would be great. Thank you.
Great. Still, has the chief met with your neighborhood about
Yeah.
this?
She's been doing it
Very good.
in the school, and we've had one.
Yeah, I know traffic is a major concern around drop off and pickup times around a lot of the schools. And so we will work with city manager's office and the chief when they propose the budget to see what best would work for those needs to facilitate if it's possible.
Great.
Just have a question. That's not a new issue. I mean,
No.
it's never been addressed before, this kind of issue.
So surprisingly.
In the city as well. But I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, no, so surprisingly, you think, oh, all schools, are gonna have some more traffic. Yes. With Stranahan, in this particular situation, it's unique, as in there's a dead end at the end of the street. So there's a very small area where parents are turning around on people's driveways and swales, and it's destroying property. And it's so, while there is the normal pickup, if they were to go in the proper lane for a car pickup, they're not utilizing the plan in place that the school has for those driving to pick up their students. The walkers aren't the problem, it's the parents circumventing the procedures for pickup and drop off locations.
So the impact in other neighborhoods or for other schools is not as such.
There's about a handful of schools that the chief
How many?
mentioned.
Do you remember?
He said a handful, I would, my assumption would be 5 or 6.
Okay.
Okay, 4.
And so can you confirm, so the impact, the economic impact, even if it's over time, can we quantify? Is it 800,000 as we heard from this lady?
So I believe that 800,000 that was originally presented was based on the addition of new FTEs. We went back and we looked at it and realized that given the hours in which we needed staff to be there, it may not make sense to do new FTEs. So that's why we piloted this program. We can get the information on the cost impact.
We'll see it during the process.
Yes, you'll see it during the.
Thank you.
Is it possible now with the new school zone cameras and any of the funds that come in from that program can be utilized to assist in this area?
So when we receive revenue for things like the school zone cameras, a portion of it's gonna go to crossing guards, but a portion of it will also come to the general fund, and so that will support general fund.
Even though it comes in the general fund, can it be identified in the budget for that specific purpose?
I mean, we can use it as, so what we usually say is, you know, the funds that are coming in help enhance programs, and so we can make a correlation between the two.
Okay. Good. Is there anyone else? Oh, Chris? Melinda?
Oh yeah, thanks Estelle for that. I just had a quick question. I know that this was definitely a pain point starting for your neighborhood at the beginning of the school year. I was just curious if you have seen any improvements so far just with the measures taken in the first half of the school year, or what your perception is as far as the trend with what the city is implementing at the moment.
My experience with the residents that have come to me have been really happy and pleased with the presence. And they have said that it has, I was given, multiple people said it at least 90% effective in deterring the turnaround traffic with the presence of the PSA. So I have had nothing but positive feedback from the actual people that live there with the presence of the PSA at pickup and drop off times.
Okay, thanks so much. That's great to hear.
I just have a question, because in one of the attachments that was sent with the agenda, you know, it shows the overtime for a lot of the different departments, but the city and the police department obviously was the biggest one. And so was that number that you're talking about, like 800,000, included in that like prior year overtime budget number, or?
Yeah, so the $800,000 number was really an estimate of how much it would cost if we added new positions. So it wasn't included in the overtime number. This is a new pilot program, so it's also not included in historic numbers. But as you go through the budget process, you'll hear more from the chiefs about the initiatives that they've been enacting to reduce overtime. And they've both been really successful with that, so you'll hear more about that as we go through the budget process. But no, this would not have been included.
Okay.
Okay. No other neighborhood comments, Charmaine?
No.
Okay, very good. I want to step back. I apologize. Jason, can you hear us?
Yes, yes.
We have a new board member joining us tonight. And so I'd like to introduce Jason Jeffress. How do you pronounce your last name so I don't get it?
Jeffress.
Jeffress. Okay. Would you just give a quick bio?
Definitely. And first of all, I just wanted to say I'm really happy to be serving on the board. And before my nomination became official last month, I had planned a vacation. So because I wanted to start getting involved, rather than waiting another month, that's why I asked to participate remotely, but I'm looking forward to meeting everybody in person and participating in person beginning next month. I have been living in Fort Lauderdale for 2.5 years now, but oddly enough, I work for the District of Columbia government, the Washington, D.C. government, but work mostly remotely and then go back to D.C. for meetings periodically. So I currently work in the city auditor's office, but I worked a long time for the city council doing budget and policy work. I worked for the DC Chief Financial Officer, where I did mostly tax policy work. And I also worked for the North Carolina Office of State Budget and Management, which is the executive budget office for the state of North Carolina. So I do have a variety of budget experience, and I'm glad to be involved in my own community now and to participate in the board.
Okay. And you said you were previously with the city auditor's office?
Actually, I'm currently with the DC Auditor's Office.
Oh, DC. Okay.
Yes.
I was gonna
So
say.
not with Fort Lauderdale. And one other aspect.
Yeah.
One other
I was
aspect of
gonna
our
ask for
work
an audit of that.
Yes.
Okay, well, welcome aboard, and I think you'll find we're a very engaged board. We
Yes.
roll up our sleeves, especially around the month of May, and really dig in to the proposals. So welcome aboard, and we look forward to seeing you in person next month if possible.
Thank you.
We're joined with our city manager tonight, and if you would take a moment and introduce your new assistant city manager.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here with the Budget Advisory Board. I know you've already done a lot of work. I'm looking forward to the work that you will continue to do along with our team. As part of the reorganization for the city, one of the elements that the Budget Advisory Board supported and that the commission approved was memorializing the level of executive support that we had in the city manager's office, including another assistant city manager position that would focus on project management. So thank you for that recommendation. I want to introduce to you Mr. Quentin Pugh, like Church Pew. He joined us, 2 months ago now, almost?
December 15th,
Okay.
a little bit over a month now.
All right, well, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Manager, and thank you, Chair and Vice Chair and members of this committee. Good evening, everyone. Quentin Pugh, Assistant City Manager. Been here with the city for a little bit over a month now. I am overseeing the Capital Projects Department. We're currently in the build-out phase. We have a new director that's starting on Monday, and I'm happy to welcome her very shortly. I'm coming from the city of South Miami, where I spent the past 12 years as the Director of Parks and Recreation. I spent a lot of my time overseeing capital projects for the department. So happy to be a part of this city. Looking forward to working with you all, especially this budget committee, and available if you have any questions.
Thank you. Thank you. We look forward to working with you because CIP projects is a big part of budget in every 5-year CPI plan. And a lot of the projects in the past have ran over, a lot of cost overruns, and a lot of compliancy issues. So we look forward to having you now dedicated for that. And I think we will see the benefits of having a dedicated system manager that oversees that, the capital improvement projects. And I want to thank City Manager Williams for when she came in, that was one of the things that she recognized the need for.
And just to add a little bit more background, the focus will be on vertical construction projects, particularly our Parks Bond program, fire stations, garage or parking facilities, and City Hall.
Those are some big ones because we've had some big cost overruns, especially in some of the fire stations, some of the other vertical projects and the police stations. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
And don't be scared of us. We're here to support you and work with you. Is there any comments from the board before we move on? Okay, moving along, old business. Oliver, you want to talk about the assignment list, and then I'll have either Laura or Yvette follow up with some comments.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Especially for the new members, but I was trying to get Wemby to help me bring back a little bit of context, because not everybody was here in December, and those who were here in December might not remember why we are going about this task assignment. The idea is to, and I hope you all get to peruse through the presentation that I shared with you in December. The idea is to bring perspective over the budget process. Fiscal year 2027 is going to be particularly challenging according to the projection of Stantec about revenue versus expenditures. So we have an opportunity, a positive opportunity as a board to contribute to outlining some options or at least raising some questions. I'm sure city staff and our manager already incorporated some of them into their thinking and their approach to this new budget. But I think we have a duty as a budget advisory board, an opportunity to come with our own thought and maybe sometimes out of the box or perspective. And in that spirit, the idea is to, as a board, maybe work as every staff, city, municipal, or private sector do in the confines of the limitation of the sunshine laws, to work as a team. And sometimes dividing and conquering is a strategy. So the idea was to assign or to propose some tasks to every board member to work with their own research, their own thought process, meet with staff, reasonable, obviously, workload factor, and come back to the board and share their outlook. So I was asked to suggest a task assignment per members. I thought of each and everyone's background and possibly their preferences, orientation. I suggested that they would choose them, and I was asked to assign, but it's just a suggestion. So I'd like your feedback on those tasks. I'd like you to raise questions as early as possible if there is something that's not clear in the definition of the task, and possibly report back in February or March during our meeting, next meeting, in times for us as a board to form a consensus and possibly a communication ready for the city commission workshop in April. So that's the idea. That's the work, the framework. So any questions about tasks, definition, and assignment? And again, for context, I really encourage everybody to get back to the presentation so that you know in which overall work plan and orientation we're working as a team.
Before I go around the table and to the board members on Zoom to make sure that they have good understanding and clarification of what their area will be, I'd like for staff, if they would, either Yvette or Laura, to give an overview of how staff will facilitate these assignments and assist us on as we move forward.
Sure. So we already look at a lot of these areas as we go through the budget development process. And, Olivier had some really great ideas about how we can partner staff with budget advisory board members to make sure that we're really getting the neighbor view of these subjects as we're looking at them. And so what we wanted to make sure, we know that you all are all very busy, both professionally and personally. And so we wanted to make sure you knew that staff was here to support you as you go through this endeavor. We have research on many of these subjects, the neighboring municipalities, on best practices, on historic trends. And so that's data that we can provide to you. What we were hoping to do is, as you go through this process, if there's looking at the various subjects that are being discussed, that we could also share the background research that we've already done with you all, so that in advance of it coming to the board, you have an opportunity to say, hey, I think the board would also want to hear about this other thing, or here's another area that, I think you could dig a little bit deeper on from a public perspective. And so, understanding that we want to support you all through this initiative as you undertake it, use us as a resource, and Laura and her team are here to do that. So we just it can be overwhelming during budget season because we're doing a lot of very deep dives into departmental budgets, into revenues. But we want to make sure that we're here to support you. You all are volunteers and we really respect the time that you give to this board.
To echo Yvette's and the team's support, but also to my fellow board members, sometimes it's not the data, it's how you approach them or read them or put them into perspective. And that's what I've learned in my professional career. And that's what I'm trying to bring here. And I think the lens through which we should look at those ideas of reducing expenses, optimizing expenses, and looking at how to better raise revenue is sort of a balancing act, as the tool says, and as we approach it. But the key is to look at the data in a different way, or in a customer-centric or resident-centric way, and not from a municipality organization that has been growing naturally, organically, but sometimes has grown, as my husband would say, I've gained weight with the years, and I think it happens to organization, private or public. And sometimes we have to contemplate our diet and revisit our lifestyle and habits. So I think if we want to succeed in that approach and bring our own value, I think it would be great to make it customer-centric, resident-centric. The affordability factor in the city is a big thing that the city commission needs to listen and hear, and it needs to translate into the budget or any new millage rate policy orientation that we would be contemplating. So that's what I wanted to ask my fellow board members to keep in mind when they go about with staff and with the rest of the board in the next couple of months in this approach.
Okay, so as chair, let me just propose this, and I'm looking for feedback, especially from staff. So like I have sponsorship and events. Now, I've been working closely on events with parks, but as we get into sponsorships, so I'll use my example. If I would like to have a meeting with, say, the parks director to talk about sponsorships and do a deeper dive, I think it'd be important to have a member of your staff in that meeting. Should we request that meeting through you and through Charmaine? And then Charmaine will facilitate the scheduling of that meeting with, say, for me, like if it would be with the parks director or who has real estate, Melissa. So who handles real estate for the city?
We have a real estate team.
Yeah. So I'm using those as examples. So I think this kind of helps us get a framework in our mind. We're going, like you said, a deeper dive into things. So with that, I'm just going to go around the table. I'll start with you, Rich. With your assignment, are there any questions or clarifications or your understanding what's being asked?
I do, and I don't know if this was discussed previously, but just, I understand the topics, but what logistically and realistically is supposed to be done? Expected of us as board members, and then coinciding with the city, we have to be careful about the communication not in this room. So how's that gonna go? I just wanna make sure we're staying within the framework. Hey,
So OMB can partner with you. What we'll likely do is share some initiatives that are underway right now. We would partner with our IT folks, probably get in a room with you and them and share what's going on now. You might have some questions or some ideas of
Sure.
things you might want us to look at, and then you would report back to the board is sort of the thinking. So we'd share what we have. You could ask some questions. We'll get some more information together before your share back.
so for me particular, I'll wait communication from your end to set up an initial meeting, and then everything is just above board that way?
Sure. Well, I'm happy to initiate that meeting.
Yeah, that would be fine. Then we'll go from there.
Okay, I think you have a good understanding of Oliver, so is there any
No,
Yeah.
I think within the confines of Sunshine Law, what I've done in the past is I've requested meeting with some of the department heads or Laura, and they were always very available and very amenable. Don't be afraid of asking stupid questions, because that's how you get smarter, and even if you are the smartest in the room, you'll get smarter too. So there is no stupid question generally. I mean, there are some, but staff will be very understanding. And I think that's our role, to learn and grow by asking questions. It's not the answers, and we don't have all the answers, but the right questions will lead to better outcomes. That I'm convinced.
It's true. Okay. Going around the table. You have questions, concerns, or?
Well, as far as city staff, who would I? Affordability and cost of living, is there a department in the city?
So Charmaine can reach out to you and we'll schedule time with the appropriate folks. We probably would first meet with you and get some ideas of what you would like to look at. We do have in slides that we've done before, affordability comparisons, what the water rates are, what the stormwater rates are. We just presented those at goal setting. So we can share with you some initial information. You may have some additional questions and then we can engage with the correct folks based on what questions you have from a taxpayer perspective.
And if I may add, I think the voice of the residents here is very important. And I, for one, would love to have some guests, not only talking about difficulties of traffic around the school, but also about affordability. For instance, having some resident in your district, like I've been talking to some in my district about, how they raise children and now are on fixed income and have lived here for 50 years in the city, and how sometimes they feel that they can't afford the city anymore. So I think that dimension is also part of the picture. And it's not in numbers only, it's also in, customer-centric, resident-centric quality of life elements that we also need to incorporate.
I have the business tax optimization. So I would like to, speak with the team. I have some ideas myself, being a business owner. So I'm glad I was chosen for this one. Thank you so much. And it looks like I'm working with Jason.
Yes,
Jofras. Did I say it right? Jofras.
Jeffers.
Okay, I'm close. It looks like we'll be working together. But as a business owner, I do have questions about it and also ideas about it as well, because I can see how on both sides, how people can say, I'm just gonna run my business because this might be too much or this might be. So I do have some questions in that area and I would love to find out how I could get a head start on that. And speaking with someone who actually works in the, business tax office, and maybe get some ideas of, what kind of traffic they get, what kind of people come in and how we can get people to actually pay their business taxes. And I have some thoughts and ideas on that.
We'll hear a little bit about business tax tonight from Portia, so yeah.
With the regulatory framework that we are working with, which doesn't necessarily negate the thinking. It's just in terms of every year we can't do more than 5%. But if we're late for 25%, that's every 2 years, sorry. But if we're late 25% or below the line compared to benchmarks, it's time to catch up.
Yeah.
So Samantha and Jason, since you're both assigned this category to look at, that's probably the closest one that'd be a sunshine. So just I caution you, just make sure you work through Charmaine, when you meet individually staff, if you need something communicated to Jason, there's the avenue to do that, but you have to make sure we go through the proper. And when staff meets, I'm sure you'll make sure that we cover that. Jason, do you have any comments or while we're on?
I actually just had a logistical question, which you were starting to touch on, Bill, but just if can Samantha and I talk to city staff together, or is that running afoul of sunshine for Samantha and I to do those meetings together?
Not unless the meeting's publicly noticed. So you cannot speak to Samantha about anything that'll come before the board unless it's a publicly noticed meeting. So we likely will work with you independently and then,
Okay.
This is why initially I had not assigned two people to the same task.
Right.
Divide and conquer with the idea, and I don't think that business tax particularly, I mean, staff decided to add Jason
I
Jufra's
believe
name.
Jason chose this
Okay.
as a topic.
But I
Yeah.
initially, I thought every subject would be one person owning.
I think you can they can work together.
If they can, that's,
But how does that work? Are you saying I can't talk to you?
So I think
I
the
don't
idea
understand.
is that you would be working on the same subject, but not necessarily working together outside of the confines of this meeting. So we can provide the same information to both of you, but you all cannot have a conversation about it unless it's at a publicly noticed meeting.
so Samantha, the positive to that, and we can always during the meeting, we will hear both of you, but you'll have different approaches. Again, my example is you look at the same data, the same issue, but you bring two different ways of approaching it and maybe solutions that are gonna be different. I think it's even better. So as long as we can reconcile those 2 points of view.
And staff is very good about making sure we don't violate sunshine laws, so I don't see it being a problem. It's just, the key is communication to staff.
Thank you.
Okay,
Chair,
Max.
No, Mikael wants to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
sorry, just wanted to provide an idea for consideration by this board. I looked over the topics and perhaps some may be a little bit meatier than others and could be bifurcated to allow for both board members to have one topic each. Just something to think about as I looked over the topics.
Is there a recommendation of another topic?
Honestly, I didn't even know that Jason was coming on board in December when we had this meeting. Honestly, staff made that suggestion for his name, but if Jason or somebody else wants to bifurcate and choose another subject that they feel is important in light of the presentation and all the ideas that were there, feel free. It's a menu, you just go for it and you say, here, I like this dish and I'm gonna get deep into this.
Yeah, Olivia, I believe you have 2 assignments as well, so we could maybe, I don't know if there's one that you prefer to another. You have revenue trends. And then also
Budget reduction scenario.
budget reductions.
Yeah. Well, yes.
I don't know.
Anybody interested in one of those two instead of business tax or Jason? Jason, what do you think? Welcome, new member.
Well, it was budget reduction scenarios and I forget the other one.
Revenue.
Revenue. So just so you know, there is a point person who's gonna gather the information about the estimating revenue conference that's happening soon. And I've been nominated for that.
Yes.
So I'd like to keep that aspect because it's a positive aspect. I think the budget reduction scenarios should honestly be led by somebody we can bring this delicate subject into perspective and with positive outlook, but also report back to the board because I think that's going to be essential that we build a consensus as a team, as a board around these scenarios and how budget reduction would be approached. And I think that's a bigger subject. Now, if you're not afraid of that, Jason, as a new member, we'd love for you to take it.
I'm not afraid of it. I'm definitely willing to take it.
Solution.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
so Samantha, you got business. I think you'll do an excellent job, especially with your background in small business. You can add from a holistic perspective.
Yes, thank you so much.
I had millage rate policy and benchmarking. I will give Charmaine to do that, and I already did it. So
Wow.
I did it. I have
Overachiever.
references. I thought it was due. So
This is the thinking, this is the model. So for February, we want to hear everybody have feedback and something to share.
Show off.
sorry.
I had to do it. He's a new member, he wants to show.
I'm working on it.
So I have real estate development and P3 revenue. I'll get with like Charmaine and to discuss. Yeah, my only question is I know with the property tax issue in Tallahassee coming down the pike, there might be some, I don't even know what to say, but we'll have to kind of keep our eye on that, I guess, for going forward. What's the timing for deliverables? Is it for the February meeting?
So in my mind, and it's, I think the idea is that you report back as to what progress you've made and where you're heading, if you need more time and more research and more meeting. I think telling your fellow board members, here's what I've been looking at, here's what I have found on top of what I try to approach in my presentation, and discovering another avenue. You can report back in February. Remember, we want to be ready in March during our meeting to sort of form a consensus, overall consensus and vision to express something in time for the April Joint Commission workshop. So I think it's a reasonable timeframe. I wish everybody like Max would have already made progress. But so time is of the essence, and let's get working.
So you're thinking elevator overview, like an elevator speech or elevator update, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, go do a round robin for next meeting. Would that fit into the schedule?
Well, so, thank you, Chair. So I would point out that some of the topics are already on the agenda where staff is planning for certain dates, like personnel cost projections, by way of example, is already set to be on April. So whoever we're partnering with on that, we'll probably have that person report out in April when we report out. Revenue estimating updates are April 15 as well. So if you have a topic that has a dedicated space, we would ask that you work with staff and you report out at that meeting. I think it's going to be a time saver if we do it that way.
But I'm not asking for a complete report out, just a real quick, down and dirty. Hey, I met with the special events team, and the parks director. We had a 2-hour meeting and a lot of good things came out of it. Will be more information, but to keep us on track to make sure everyone's staying engaged. And it gives them the opportunity, if you're kind of hit a dead end, we could discuss it, help you and maneuver you through it.
Exactly, and ask other questions and make progress. Let's not get stuck. Let's report back as a team. Again, sometimes teamwork makes the
Dream.
Exactly.
Yeah, down and dirty, 2 minutes per assignment. Okay, and Melissa, to your point, I had a note, is it possible at the start of the next meeting, I know Daphne's in Tallahassee, but if she could zoom in and just give us a quick 5-minute update of where that's a month from now, so she should have a good feel on property tax. And we're hearing maybe a special session, or are they doing anything? Just give us her perspective of what's happening in Tallahassee on property taxes.
Property taxes.
Chairman, for new members and everybody, Daphne is the lobbying point person, and she has the ear of what's happening in Tallahassee. So that's very useful.
Yeah, she's the lobbyist for the city. What's her official title?
Intergovernmental Affairs Manager.
Intergovernment, yes. So she's up in Tallahassee most of the session.
And if I could suggest, if there are other issues being discussed in Tallahassee that could impact the budget, if those could also be included, so it's not just about property tax.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll just,
Add that to the plan. Okay.
and if she can't join us right at 5, if she can join us at 6, we'll maneuver her time schedule. Okay. Thank you.
Last comment, if I may, Chairman. I had suggested that millage rate policy and benchmarking would be researched with projection and scenarios. But that's where the entire team and board needs to form an opinion or not. And I think that's gonna, need to be discussed further. So I'm glad that you're already ahead of the game, because that's where I think we're gonna land or not land with that teamwork. And I think that's essential for the April Commission workshop.
Okay, very good.
I was hoping that Chairman Brown would take the lead as well on that, because as our spokesperson and leader, he would also be in front of the City Commission in April to express that.
Well, I have my visions and having a different look from it, thoughts. I think it's better that way.
Okay.
Yeah. Working, especially working with the city managers in her staff, as we move forward in the developmental process of the budget, so. Melinda,
Oh, yes. So yeah, I just wanted to say, I guess we're going around the room. Olivier, very well done. Very happy with my assignment of excess general fund balance and to community CRA, Community Redevelopment Agency. So I feel like you chose well for me because I'm very interested. So, and then yes, apologies. I did know that this was meant to have some progress by today, and I got waylaid in January a bit, but I do see we have a CRA on the agenda, so maybe count that as a little progress for me today.
very good. Okay, any other questions before we move on? Yes.
Hi, I have a quick question. So like, I'm not sure, I'm not. But there's obviously in the news, there's been a lot around kind of waste fraud. Minneapolis comes to mind. Is that part of this assignment of saying, hey, we think that there could be something in any one of these departments? And then also I've been in corporate for over 30 years and we'd have productivity targets. Do you have any targets that you're putting into place that says, I wanna cut by this much so that like, you know, you're working efficiently, right? Because we talk about generating more revenue, but you could also say, do you need to generate more revenue, i.e. taxes? Or can you just cut expenses? And it might not even impact services if you look at contract negotiations and are they on auto repeat and so they're not benefiting the city and you could pitch it out and maybe get cheaper services, or like, are those kinds of things that overarch all of it being taken into consideration?
So
Before you go there,
Yeah.
when you use the word waste, fraud and abuse, I think this is not the responsibility of this committee, but if you have an example or complaint, that should be submitted to the auditor's office, correct?
It'd be good to bring it to our attention.
Yeah, bring it to their attention. Then if there's a bigger issue, then he could bring it to us. But I don't think we need to get into the investigation phase of looking at fraud, abuse.
to bring it to you, I assume you're a resident, district,
Yeah, I'm in the Riverside.
same reason, okay.
Yeah.
You state your name for the record, please.
I'm Stephanie Provo.
So the thinking behind that approach that we kicked off last year and didn't incorporate any idea or any indication of we need to look for fraud or any problem like that. It was more focused on the second element that you outlined. And I've been in the private sector for a long time before. My idea was, do we need to spend more or to generate more revenue if we can provide the same services at a different cost? So productivity was definitely part of the presentation I shared with my fellow board members. And, you know, AI and some other things are to be considered. And I think the question were raised there, and there were some examples of budget cuts as well, consideration. So question mark about those points were raised. And I count on this board and every board member to approach that also with that angle in mind.
So is there a lens then that says these are the things that you should be thinking about as you go through each of your assignments?
Pat, as city auditor, would you kind of quick touch on what she's asking and your role as an independent charter officer, independent of the city manager and city staff and budget O&B?
Okay, well, you know, if you come across something, you know, I think at first you were talking about cost saving things, which is good, but if you do run across something that is questionable, that it could be waste, fraud or abuse, if you let us know, that would be very helpful. I mean, we have the, you know, the capability and the staff to look into things. I don't think it would be good we'd be glad to meet with you. Sometimes people would just send us, you know, an email or a letter. A lot of people, again, don't like to leave their name on it, but you know, I can understand that too. But yeah, we would be glad to look into it. I mean, we're performing audits, you know, year round, and we find things that can be cost cutting and you know, I mean, I just not getting into what was said earlier today, but one of the things I was a little concerned with when I the first item of using overtime to kind of handle the situation that you have there. I mean, to me, overtime is something that's
It's on there.
not, you know, consistently used for something. It should be used when needed. But, you know, again, I don't know the whole stories of what that and maybe what the school board's position is on that and so forth. But, you know, we look at everything kind of from a risk analysis and looking at things of how they approach and what things that could be possibly, you know, misappropriation of funds or something that we're paying for that we're not getting and things like that. So there's all types of different kind of audits that we've been doing over the years, performance audits, compliance audits. And again, we get requests from people occasionally that question something that the city is using, or why are we doing this, or why don't we farm this out at a much cheaper price and things like that.
Okay, thank you. And also the city's budget is posted on the city's website. So if you have, you know, questions about money or the finances, the budget's there for the public view. Okay, thank you. So I think that covers it very well, and in keeping with the time, we're right at 5:55. We'll go into new business and turn it over to either Lori or Beth to run the new business.
Sure, thank you, Chair Brown. We have Vanessa Martin, who is our acting CRA director with us today, and she is going to present to you on the CRA. You all asked for some performance metrics and how they're measuring success. So I'll turn that over to
Then we'll follow up with the new department.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I got that out of order again. So we can first go into the new departments. So during budget development, when the proposed budget was issued, you all asked for how we're gonna measure success of these new departments. Today, you all were got a adopted budget book.
Can you hear her, Melinda and Jason?
Yes.
Okay,
So everyone in person today,
Yes.
I apologize, we'll give you yours next month, Melinda and Jason. Received an adopted budget book. The budget book is organized in a variety of ways, but all the blue tabs are your departments. So for the new departments in each section, you can find the performance measures for the new departments. By way of example, a new department is Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport. If you flip to page number 276 and 277, you'll see some performance measures that were identified. You're going to find that for each of the new departments, and that's how the performance measures have been set up to measure. Over the next year, they'll be looking at if those are the right measures, and during budget development, they'll probably tweak those a little bit. Anything you'd add, Eva?
Yeah, we'll be having the What Keeps You Up at Night conversation at your February meeting, where you'll see the department's business plans. And those business plans will also do a deep dive into, you know, what they're measuring as the performance for that department, as well as some of their objectives and goals for the next year.
That's what we had on the first item, and the
any
second one is.
questions? Board members?
Then I,
Sorry, one quick question, and sorry for not being there in person, but I'm just assuming, Laura, that this what we're gonna you know, I'll have to get collected, I guess, next month. That's on, is it either available online or can I get it electronically?
it is posted online, and I can send you a link, Melinda, after this meeting, but we will still make sure you get your hard copy next month as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
It's also at fortlauderdale.gov/budget.
Oh, perfect, thank you.
Melinda, you live downtown. You can just walk over to the 101 building.
Oh, absolutely, I have no excuses.
No, I'm just suggesting if you want it beforehand. So
Yeah.
you just just reach out to Charmaine and you two can probably set up a time to meet.
Sounds good on both accounts. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
And introduced Vanessa early, but I will again. So Vanessa Martin is our acting manager for the CRA, and she's gonna share with you the performance metrics for the CRA that you all asked about.
Good evening, everyone. Vanessa Martin. So as you see, the top screens, you do see at the top left of your screen, you see the Arcadian, which was funded by the CRA for $10 million. And at the bottom right, you will see the Adderley, which was funded by $12 million from the CRA, just to give a
Yeah, because it's air conditioned. I think it kicks off in 7. So
just to give a quick, Vanessa, do you wanna come sit next to me? I have so much going on.
Use
Just
your mommy
louder.
voice. Use the
Okay.
mommy voice.
Just to give a quick outlook. So as you know, the Northwest Progresso Flagler Heights is in the first year of its 10-year extension. And so we just want to provide you with a little overview. So the mission here is to actually enhance the quality of life of the CRA. And we want to make sure that we revitalize blighted areas. And the objective here is to make sure that we have a self-sustaining district. So over the next 24 months, we have a strategic focus. We want to prioritize the completion of 79 million in progress and inactive projects that we have right now. And we want to align the expenditures. We want to make sure that every dollar is wisely spent. We want to then have measurable outcomes to where we have affordable housing, job creation, and infrastructure improvements. We want to reevaluate our unencumbered prior year awards. We want to make sure that the projects can generate return on investment. We want to make sure that the projects are ready to go. And we also want to make sure that every project has a specific objective. We also want to aggressively seek partnerships or alternative funding sources. And by that, we mean we want to look into opportunity zones. We want to look at different, I would say, community redevelopment financial obligations that they may have available, just other alternative funding sources. So when we talk about measuring success, we want to talk about, what can we measure at this point? And right now, we're looking at measuring through housing and economic development. And so if you take a look, you'll see that there are key performance indicators through our affordable housing units, economic growth. Our product delivery, we want to make sure that our projects are completed with on-time budget performance. We want to make sure we have a return on investment, we have growth, assessed value, tax base, and private capital leverages. We want to make sure, of course, affordable housing units are developed and they are delivered. And we want to make sure that we have job creation. This is an incentive summary. Over the last few years, we reinvested $126 million into the Northwest Progresso Flagler Heights area, of which 79 million, as stated earlier, is in progress and 49 million has been completed. This is our affordable housing units chart. On this list, we have 15 affordable housing units. All of these projects, there are some that are in progress and there are some that have been completed so far. So this is just a snapshot of where we are at this point. And so I just wanted to quickly go over that. If you have any questions for that, but our key takeaways from this would this way. Yeah. Our key takeaways from this presentation is that, we wanted to make sure that we had the advancement of approximately 896 affordable housing units, where we wanted to expand our housing access, homeless reduction, and the elimination of the housing burden. And so we also want to make sure that we complete all of the projects that we have in progress. We want to leverage external sources, funding sources, and we want to just monitor the performance moving forward so that we can have better community benefits and a long-term economic growth. Any questions?
So Chair Brown, if I could chime in as well. So, again, what was said earlier was last year we came to this board really for the conversation about extending the Northwest Progresso CRA for another 10 years, which was successful. The commission approved it, the county approved it. So right now the CRA is funded by 50% of the tax increment revenue that the city receives. The other taxing entities, Broward County, the hospital district, the Children's Services Council, they are not participants, but we are still funded through the city's tax increment funding. So what this board asked us to do was to come up with a way to look at how we measure success, as Vanessa said, in this area. One, because the amount of funds is limited, but also because this board wanted to be sure that we were using those funds in a way that met the needs of the community, but was also used in an effective way to further the goals of the Northwest Progressive CRA, which is determined by our redevelopment plan. That redevelopment plan was also updated in this last year and approved by the commission. So the district's goals and strategies are clear, they're up to date, and they're timely. So one of the things we're doing to measure success in this area is to make sure that we're following that new redevelopment plan and meeting those goals and strategies that are outlined in that plan. But there are some specific things that Vanessa mentioned that we think are also important for us to continue to measure and look at. One is that we're growing the tax base, right? One of the reasons for CRAs is to use those funds that are received to incentivize things that help to increase property values, create jobs, create affordable housing, and make sure that the tax base is continuing to grow and increase in those areas. One, it helps fund the CRA, but over time, when the CRA does expire, all of those funds will be returned back to the city for use in the general fund and really support, all of our city services that are supported by the general fund. So one of those measures will be, how are we leveraging those funds every year to continue to grow that tax base? The other is job creation. A lot of what we fund is commercial assistance. So it could be a facade program for a new business. It could be helping a new business come into the district and establish a restaurant, a service business, a retail business. So part of what that incentive goes to is a commitment that there be a certain amount of jobs created within that district. We're also looking at affordable housing. Vanessa mentioned two really great projects that have been successful and will continue to help grow that area, which is the Adderley and the Arcadian. They just happen to be right across the street from each other on Avenue of the Arts and Sistrunk Boulevard. But that brought not only a tremendous amount of new affordable and workforce housing units to the corridor, but it's also helping the workforce and people from that community continue to live in that community and close to where they work. And then we're also looking at the overall performance of our incentive program. So one of the things this board mentioned, and we've heard in other venues, is that the funding that the CRA is allocating towards projects is slow to come to fruition, right? Like we'll allocate funding to a project or development, but that project or development may take years to come to completion. So one of the things that we're looking to measure and we're looking to approve upon is to not only make sure that the funding that we have committed and we have allocated towards those projects are moving forward. And if not, let's do something about it and reallocate those funds if we can. But also making sure that those projects that we incentivize and fund over the next 10 years have a strong chance of success, that they will move forward and they will move faster. So we think we captured those things that this board had brought to us in terms of key considerations and key things for us to be mindful of and measure over the next 10 years. We'd like your feedback tonight to know if we're on the right track. This isn't, in its final form, because without your feedback, this isn't done. We need your feedback to be able to move forward. So that's what we're seeking tonight, and we hope that you've got something to share with us as well.
Before we take questions, as a follow-up, you mentioned, which we all know, 50%. The commission a year ago at the workshop said they wanted to revisit it 2 years. So let's fast forward to next January at the goal setting session. We are going to be asked, I know, likely for our input as to what that rate should be. Should it be increased from 50% or should it decrease from 50%? And a lot of that will be driven on how much revenues come in, how much is unspent, things of that nature. So looking at staff, so we're not at the 11th hour trying to make a recommendation or give input to the commission on that percentage number. as we did last year. When should we address that? And either staff or the city
I
manager.
can say one quick thing on that. So just to be clear, with what the state provides us to be able to set our increment rate for our CRA districts, they can either be set at zero, and we did that with the beach to finish out projects. We had a CRA, but it wasn't funded because we just needed time to finish the projects and spend down the money that we had. You can fund it at a minimum of 50% of the tax increment that's collected within that district, which is where we're at now. And then you can fund it from there up to 99%. So I just want to be clear that when this board, at the time that that you consider this in the future, the choices are 0, 50%, or up to 99%. So
we can't go below 50 unless we go to 0.
that's correct.
Okay, that's good information. I thought we could go, but so it's either 50 or higher or nothing at all. Okay, so I guess as chair for the board, we're looking for direction of when in the work process, the fiscal work plan, should we be prepared to make our recommendation? Because I'm assuming they're gonna bring it up at the goal setting session. Historically, they always have.
We would include it on that agenda just to ensure that that discussion was thorough and we have the backup necessary for it to be productive.
So you're thinking October,
Well,
after the budget's finalized,
session is normally.
normally we don't, maybe November, December, we don't meet, so.
September.
But they wouldn't be making a decision, because they did it for 2 years, so they'd be making a decision next. Right? So would it
Every 2 years.
Yeah.
Same year. Yeah, so if they wanted to weigh in, and what Bill, I believe, is bringing up is that they don't typically like to meet in December. So maybe you're thinking,
November, December.
are you thinking putting it on the September? Because the work plan is for a fiscal year. We could do September, or we could do on next year's work plan and then just like put a footnote at the.
I think September, September, what are we doing in October?
Yeah, we could otherwise just put a footnote at the bottom to remind us.
Have an special meeting as we did in December this year when I was presenting.
Yeah,
If the subject is worth,
yeah,
a meeting.
I think we have to weigh in. We're gonna be asked to weigh in.
Yes, Ron, if I may, so part of what we're suggesting as a measure is to look at the incremental increase in ad valorem revenue in the district based on the redevelopment that CRA incentivizes. I'll ask budget, but I think because those numbers are probably more available to us over the summer, it makes sense to look at a year from now, so maybe next January, to have the conversation to bring back the results.
Well,
Consider.
that's true. If they meet before our January meeting, we won't have time to weigh in.
I think we need to take a step back and look at the calendar for that 2-year period and when does it actually begin? So October 1st was the beginning of that 2-year
Yes.
period. So right now, we're in second quarter of that first year within the 2-year period. By next year, this time, we would be in the second quarter within the second year of the 2-year period. So
So we still have.
Let's do this. Get feedback from the commission when you think that they're going to want to have some input. They might not bring it up at the goal setting, but that's when they brought it up a year ago and set that. Before you were city manager, they set it at that meeting at 50% with the caveat that they would every 2 years review it. So find out when they anticipate on reviewing it. That will help us.
I have a question or comment. So I believe, if I'm remembering right, 2 of the sticking points that at least we were sort of contemplating, focusing on, arguing about, whatever you wanna put it, was that there was a significant amount of money earmarked for developments that weren't getting out of the ground. And then there was some things that were going towards hospitality that people felt may or may not have deserved the right. So I feel like those are the 2 things that should be addressed as clearly as possible. I know some breakdown, but I don't know. I mean, I think you get pretty specific on exactly what's spent where very, very clearly as we're updated through this process. Maybe that could be communicated along the way. And then the other part is, and I don't know this, maybe you know this offhand, or I should know this. this money, does it sit interest bearing? Like if you, because it's a significant amount of money, I think it was into the tens of millions. It sits interest bearing at least?
Yes, it's
Okay, so while it's waiting there earmarked for things, it's not just sitting at nothing, it's interest bearing competitively in the capital market. Okay. I think that's the only two things that I felt like we were talking about,
I don't know.
the two other things.
Go around them. But
So to echo Rich, and that was one of the question I had, I'd like to start with, I'd love to have the data, the numbers on those charts, because I can, make it up, but, and it's interesting that some, projects have a very low level percentage of affordable units versus others that are mostly dedicated to housing units. So I'd love to have the data. I'd love to have some data in terms of jobs, attached to those investments. Incentives, that's definitely one of the sticking point that we raised last year, I think, as a board. And I'm focused personally on the abandonment rate of project, especially for commercial project and restaurants that were awarded $500,000 and never opened. And I'd like us as a community and with staff to be laser focused on what are the criteria, what is the vetting process about giving an incentive to a business. Because I can tomorrow, as a business owner, come and wow you with a wonderful project. I hire good consultants, beautiful design, graphics and everything. We can learn from a new city project, but and not deliver anything in the end. So I think what we're all concerned as residents and as staff is to make sure that we don't get fooled and we get the money to people who actually are gonna pay us back and invest. Last but not least, I'd love some sort of macro picture of the return on investment. When you talk about how much we invest, I'd love to compare that maybe project by project, but overall with the expected taxable basis and generate revenue for the cities. And those numbers should be available and clear for this board as well in the end. So when we talked about metrics of success, benchmark, metrics of performance, I'd like to see this beyond this few slides.
Yeah, so just for that, and that's what we're looking for tonight, right? So we kind of gave you these general 30,000 foot buckets of measures, and detail you're providing are within those buckets, I think I'm hearing. So this is exactly what we wanted to hear is what's that level of detail? What are the specific items within those larger buckets that you'd like us to drill down on?
So when do we get that more in depth?
So the intent tonight was to get this feedback, refine it, we can work with our strategy and innovation team within our office of management and budget, so that's the next step, so we can bring that back. We'll work with budget to bring it back to a future meeting, that level of detail.
And Chris, will staff share that with the commission or should we forward it to them?
We should digest it, and maybe if we intend to make a recommendation, we should have time to look at it and form a consensus again, and form an opinion so that we can bring that about to the commission, right? Does this make sense?
Yeah, and we can communicate, okay.
So there's a few groups involved in this process that we'll have to share all this with and have shared some of these conversations with at a high level. So you obviously are Northwest Progresso Flagler Heights CRA Advisory Board is another group that we've engaged with, need to engage with as well, ultimately the commission. So we'll chart that path.
Okay. Thank you. We'll go around the table for feedback.
I don't really have anything to contribute to this conversation.
Okay.
Nothing yet until I, get, when he said he's gonna bring the information so we can kind of read it. I wanna kind of see what it is yet, before I make a comment.
I would agree with him at this point, but I would say that there's been recent headlines about construction companies or construction consultants that are implementing new technologies and AI for cutting costs on estimates, blueprints, ordering materials. It'd be interesting to see that through that lens at that point too. Just something to chew on, because it could be something that's seriously cost saving that could be reappropriated to something else.
Yeah, my comment, I say we all, I think, I don't wanna speak for everyone, I had concerns, I think there was a concern of the board which was addressed, that there were unspent dollars. And so I will say I went to that Arcadian grand opening last week, and like I was really beyond impressed. So if those are the projects that are being brought forward, you know, I mean, obviously there's a workforce housing affordable component, which is fantastic. I did talk to the developer, and apparently he has other projects planned for that area. What I would like to see is I love the graph you showed us for the completed projects. I'd like to see a graph of what's in progress, if that's possible. So maybe with, you know, like completion dates that this is in progress to be completed, you know, February of 27, whatever it is, just to give us an idea of where the money kind of is in process, if that's possible.
Yeah.
But great project over there.
Melinda, any feedback?
Yeah, no, I just, no, I appreciate the presentation, Vanessa, and comments from Chris. And yeah, I think you guys have brought up some great points as far as kind of refining how we want to talk about measuring its success and, you know, return on investment, affordable housing, economic impact, job creation. I agree with the comments. The one I am curious just on the number of affordable housing units slide. Are those, Chris, I can't remember, or Vanessa, if you actually said of those 15 projects that they have all opened or they have all been approved?
They're all been approved, but they haven't opened. There's some that are in progress and some that have not started at this point.
So I guess that would be really useful information in the future. I know Olivier was talking about abandonment rate of commercial projects, and on the flip side, everyone loves, you know, is very interested in affordable housing units. And so maybe like in the future, a graph like this, we can show those that are actually approved versus those that are opened. I guess just ballpark, how many are open right now out of the 15?
I would say about 5.
Okay, so Adderley and Arcadian, I guess, are both 2 of them.
Yes.
Do you know what the other 3 are?
Yes, Mount Herman is open.
Okay.
7 on 7.
So you have 7th on 7th. That's open. You do have Herman, and then Fat Village, which I just received the CO today.
Okay, so perfect. So 7th on 7th, Mount Herman, Gallery at Fat Village, the Adderley, and the Arcadian.
Yes.
And I will note 2 of the ones that have opened. It is interesting. Olivia pointed out that, like, you know, in the Adderley, I only see that 50 out of 450 are affordable units, so that's about 11%. It's just to clarify, for example, the Adderley, so 50 are affordable units, but the rest of the 400 units, are they completely market rate?
Yes.
Okay. And then as far as the goal with the advancement of 896 affordable housing units, I'm assuming that is in progress. How many affordable housing units within the CRA do we currently have open that have been directly funded by CRA monies?
So the 15 the 15 that you're seeing right there has been funded by CRA. So I can provide a different chart to kind of break down the different components for you to, yes, analyze the affordable housing based off of the actual housing units.
Okay, no, this is great. And I mean, obviously, I won't take any more time on this. This is what my assignment area, but looking forward to working with you, Vanessa, and of course, Chris.
Yeah, Melinda, what I would say, and we'll get into the weeds on this a little bit when we meet with you, but there's other public benefits to these projects. So the Adderley and Arcadian, for example, I know at least the Arcadian has some public parking that's part of it. There's also retail components, which gets to job creation and some other things, so.
We need to look at that too.
Right, so that's all context to what we'll bring back. So there's, like I said, there's more benefit to these than just the housing, even though that's the larger component.
That's a great point, Chris. Thanks for mentioning that.
And we'll round it off with Jason. Do you have any?
Yes. What I was going to mention is just that when I was looking at the slides, I didn't have enough context or sort of a measuring stick to evaluate some of the numbers. For example, 896 affordable units sounds very good, but I don't have a context of something like, for example, the city is striving to create 6,000 affordable units, and the almost 900 that we're getting here, is a critical part of that. Sort of like the bigger picture of where are we going in terms of affordability, and how does this fit into kind of the overall picture of affordable housing units? In effect, how do we know how to evaluate 896 and whether that's great or good or adequate? Just some kind of comparison of objectives to where we are.
Okay.
The-
Yeah, all very good points.
Okay.
And you had one quick follow-up.
Yeah, well, I'm on the Affordable Housing Board as well for the city. I just was gonna say, I think it'd be impactful to open the lines of communication. I mean, we're in your office when we meet once a month or so. I just think this would be impactful for that board as well. I don't wanna give anybody double work or have any redundancy, but I just think it's meaningful because some of the questions that are being answered and some of people were just talking about metrics and goals, we discussed that too at the same time, and I just think there should be some coordination. So like Chris, I can't speak on behalf of the board right now, but I think it would make sense for you guys to present something similar or come and speak to the board, just so we can all have aligned goals. I think it would make sense, especially as the in lieu fees come in, then we're talking money, and then we need it about this board as well, I think. So that's it, sorry.
Okay. Thank you. Great discussion, great presentation. As chair, I think on behalf of this board, the communication is the most important piece as we move along these next few years, which lacked a lot in the past and created frictions within the CRA boards and in the citizens. So thank you. Great job, Chris. Moving along, review of general fund revenue enhancement opportunities. Are you Laura or that?
So good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Budget Advisory Board. We have a little transition happening. So as everyone kind of transitions into their seats, I want to set some context as to what we're here for. So during the budget development last year, we were challenged by our new city manager to come up with new revenue estimating ideas during budget development. And also we were challenged by the Budget Advisory Board. In particular, Ross Camerata was the chair for the Revenue Estimating Conference Committee. He came back and shared some of the results, and you all wanted to dig in certain areas. So the presentation today is a challenge from our manager and a challenge from the Budget Advisory Board. We hope to share with you a little context as to what we're allowed to do in terms of general fund revenues. And I'll be laying out that context. I want to thank Tamika McGibbon, who's here from the budget office, and Parth Patel and Keith Farrell, who put together some of this information, as well as my team that will be presenting with me from different departments. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Good evening, everyone. Carl Williams, Parks and Recreation Director.
Good evening, Ella Parker, Deputy Director of Development Services.
Good evening, Linda Short, Director of Finance.
Good evening, Portia Garcia, Community Services Director.
Stephen Golan, Fire Chief.
And so the format for today's presentation is I'm going to give you a little bit of the basis of the authorization of how we are able to charge for general fund revenues, go over what our general fund revenues are made up of. And then we've divided the presentation into three sections: revenue enhancements that have recently been adjusted in response to this challenge, some that are in progress, and some that are potential enhancements. So my colleagues are gonna jump in all of these sections. So Parks might have one in section 1 and section 3, and it'll be labeled on the top of the screen. So as we go through those revenues, we'll pause for a moment after each slide, and if you have questions, you can weigh in, or do you want us to wait till the end, Chair, for questions?
To wait till the end, because you got 36 slides, and just make a note if you have a question, so we're not here. That way we kind of move quickly.
Okay, so with that, I'll go through basis of authorization. The ability for local governments in Florida to generate revenues for our general fund is really limited. If the state constitution or laws don't say we can do it, typically we can't do it. So there's 3 types of revenues that are authorized by the Constitution and state law. The first one is ad valorem taxes. You all have heard a lot about that right now. There's proposed changes to the Constitution, and that would require a voter referendum. And the reason that it requires a voter referendum is because that's embedded in our Constitution in the state of Florida for ad valorem taxes. And what the state constitution gives us permission to do is to levy up to 10 mills. So our city is currently at 4.1193, as you've heard, for 19 years. But we have the ability to go all the way up to 10 based on the state constitution, following specific rules that are laid out in the trim process every year. The second is home rule authority. Under the Florida Constitution, local governments possess home rule powers, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next slide. And then there's state shared revenues. So in the state statutes, it lays out some shared revenues where the state levies taxes and then they share them with the local governments. So under home rule authority, there are 3 different types of fees that can be charged. The first one is regulatory fees. And again, they're authorized under home rule authority in the Constitution. They must be directly related to the cost of the regulated activity, and they must be used solely to support the regulated activity. A couple examples in our city are landscape review fees that are charged if you go to do an improvement on your home. There's different reviews that are required. We can charge folks for the cost of regulating that activity. So if there's something where the city says we really want to regulate it, we can charge up to the cost. Another example is vacation rentals. So, you know, it's really important to our community to have some sort of registration and control over vacation rentals. We can't charge them a fee to make a profit for the city or to offset taxes, but we can charge them for the cost that it takes to regulate the activity so that taxpayers don't have to pay for that activity. And these sort of fees are challenged when over time you don't use the fees on that activity, or if, for example, if somebody has a variety of vacation rentals and they think you're charging too much, they can take you to court and challenge the fees, and then you have to prove that you're using it to support that activity and that it's fair and reasonably charged. The other example, which is very popular, is proprietary fees. And a lot of times people are like, what's the difference between this fee and a tax? And so based on some case law, I pulled some examples. So things that are important when it's a proprietary fee, it's often a business related activity. It has to be tied to a specific service. You have to be able to not participate in that service, right? And so you can avoid the charge by not using the service, and the payer receives a special benefit from the service rather than a general benefit as a resident. So some examples might be if you choose to take tennis lessons at one of our parks, that would be considered a proprietary fee. Another example is if we charge you for parking, you know, you can choose not to park by the beach and you don't have to pay for parking, or camps for your children. If a child would like to attend a camp at one of our parks, there may be a fee that you have to pay. And so those are examples of proprietary fees. The third area is special assessment. This is also laid out in state law. We've talked about it quite a bit with the board over the time, but for some of the newer members, some of the special assessments that we charge in our city are the fire assessment, stormwater assessment, and then we have like utility underground assessments. And what's really unique about the assessments is there's a special benefit to the property that we have to show. And we typically have a consultant do a study that shows there's a special benefit to the property. This is the special benefit, and it has to be fair and reasonably or apportioned is what they say. So each year we talk to you about fire assessment, how we have new costs, how we apportion those costs, where we're charging residential groups together or maybe commercial groups in a different way, depending on how they use services. And so those are our special assessments. There's other revenues that are specifically called out in state law. Here's some examples, and you can only charge to the extent that the state law allows you to charge. So there are some tourist related taxes that can only be charged at county levels, or certain governments have been grandfathered in and we're not allowed to charge them, but they're called out as fees that can be charged in state statutes. And if it's not one of those things, we just can't charge it. We've had some really good ideas come out of this board and from other folks over the years. Maybe we should implement a toll bridge, where anyone goes over 17th Street has to pay, and then that'll help pay for the beaches. We love those ideas. We just can't implement those because the state law really limits how we can collect and charge for revenues. So with that in mind, the city has a cost recovery philosophy that we use as we look at fees. We call it the cost recovery pyramid. But the fundamental concept here is if something has more of a community benefit, or if there's benefits beyond the individual, a lot of times we don't recover for full costs. An example is a lot of Carl's programs. So in Parks and Recreation, there are children's sports leagues, there's after school camps. A lot of times we have a very low cost recovery, but there's a really big community benefit. We want to have somewhere for our children to go to be safe after school. We want to develop them. There's like a lot of positive outcomes that come for children. And so the cost recovery might be like 10% or 15% in certain programs, or sliding scales that we put in place. If there is considerable community benefit, it's less and less cost recovery as it's more community benefit. As there's more individual benefit, you're going to see full cost recovery, or sometimes we recover full cost recovery plus the indirect costs when it's like individual tennis lessons. If you're working with a pro or something where you're the only one who benefits, we want to make sure that the rest of the community isn't subsidizing a service that's just for an individual. So that's kind of our cost recovery methodology. And then we have, every few years, we update the revenue manual. It's a great resource that we have. It's posted online. There's a QR code. We also included a link in the presentation. And we describe revenue sources and identify the legal authority that we talked about for each of the revenue sources. And then we also talk about the last time those revenues were adjusted. And this is the basis of the information that we bring to our revenue estimating conference committee every year. Tamika's staffed that committee for how many years?
Probably 5 years.
Probably 5 years. So she's the voice of revenue in the city. And she does a great job of kind of walking us through, when's the last time the fee's been updated? How do we charge it? And for the big revenues, where they're trending. And OMB really digs into the revenues with the large revenues, and then with departments on all of the others. So it's a great resource. So just really quickly, I'll wrap up my piece with general fund revenues. For fiscal year 2026, general fund revenues totaled $520 million. There's 5 revenues that make up 82% of those revenues. So ad valorem taxes, fire assessment, state shared revenues, utility service taxes, and franchise fees. All of these we can't really adjust. Right, so we're at the max for our franchise fees, 10%. We're at the max for utility taxes, 10%. Fire assessment, we talk to you every year about it, and it's a policy decision whether or not we would like to go to full cost recovery. You all make a recommendation to the commission, they make that policy direction. And then ad valorem taxes, same thing. Those are policy direction where the commission shares with us what they would like that millage rate to be. But what we'll be talking about today are really the remaining 18%. So what we're talking about is like a little percent, but it's really the ones that we can focus in on when we're challenged to enhance revenues. It's the remaining 18%. So this just breaks it down by percentage, ad valorem's like just about 50% and 12% is the next highest, which is fire assessment. And so with that, my colleagues will be sharing revenue enhancements and recent accomplishments. We've defined recent accomplishments as revenues that have been updated within the past 3 years. I'll turn it over to Portia.
Good.
Vacation rental.
So good evening, everyone. Back in September, we took before the city commission a resolution or a presentation initially proposing an increase to our vacation rental fees. Prior to the recent increase, there had not been a change in those fees since 2017. As Laura mentioned earlier, our goal was cost recovery. Prior to this September, we were not hitting that cost recovery because we were initially budgeting at 2 people for the program. And since we had those 2 people, we had increased our amount of personnel dedicated to the program to cover things such as the application processing, the inspections for all 4 city commission districts, and also the enforcement of the program. In addition to that, there had been a change where we added a 24/7 vacation monitoring company to it. That was in response to in 2022, we received feedback from the community about vacation rental complaint handling. And so we added the hotline to our services to improve our response to really those complaints that were happening beyond CODE's normal operational period. And then in addition to that, we have always maintained a vacation rental monitoring software. What that software does is it goes through vacation rental advertisement sites. It identifies vacation rentals that are in the city of Fort Lauderdale that are advertising, and it helps us ensure that all of the advertised rentals are compliant with our registration process. It also allows us to proactively provide enforcement for vacation rentals that are not registered, but that are operating in the city's jurisdiction. And so what we did with this current fee model that we're using is we took the fees that we incurred from our monitoring, from our hotline, with our additional added staff resources for applications and enforcement, and we brought up our proposal to increase the cost for our vacation rental program based on cost recovery.
Okay, hi everyone, Ella Parker again. So the scope of this effort for us is to focus on the fees supported by the general fund, not the building fund, since these are reviewed annually in coordination with our consultant, and are subject to more restrictive statutory requirements. So for DSD's last comprehensive fee study, we've done that, we did it in FY 2024, and it lowered our premium fees. With this update, we're focusing primarily on cost recovery to support the general fund revenue. So we're reviewing our fee structure to evaluate how the existing development review fees align with service delivery and regulatory requirements. And we're identifying fees that may be outdated, that don't account for the cost of living adjustments, or where better methodology can be applied. So the development review, I think you can go to next slide. The development review fees are tied to applications reviewed under the city's land development regulations. So these include fees for engineering, urban design and planning. This includes historic preservation, zoning reviews, landscape services. And all of these fees can be adjusted via city commission resolution. So if supported to move forward, I just want to note that the fees would require some additional research, methodology, and obviously outreach to applicants and the public.
Good evening, everyone. In October of 2025, we reopened the Jimmy Everett Tennis Center. This includes many enhancements, but to go over a few, we have 20 new sub-irrigated clay courts, new fencing, LED lighting. And as such, we went ahead and increased our operating costs or assessments, if you would, for many of our lessons and services that we provide for our patrons that utilize our tennis center. Now, one of the things that I do want to point out is that we do have a contracted tennis professional. That individual is responsible for providing tennis pros. He's also responsible for concessions and racket stringing, so forth, and the city receives a percentage off of that. This particular setup was initiated roughly about 19 or so months ago, around the time when we went under construction. So that is how we have looked at our tennis center and how we are implementing new cost estimates for that. Now, as some of you may be aware, we have gone to commission to review our hotel, beach beverage and alcohol services on the barrier island. The fee was $25 per room, and now we have increased that to $30 per room door plus a $1,200 fee for the hoteliers that abut in the upland hotel area there on our barrier islands. One thing also to keep in mind is that we have a total of 9 hotels that participate in the program. And to give you an idea of what that cost or what has brought into us last year in fiscal year 25, it brought in about $65,000. And with the increased fees, we anticipate this to go up close to $90,000 annually.
On to the next is revenues in progress. So those were accomplishments, these are in progress.
So at last night's city commission meeting, we received the approval of our first reading for its increase in our business tax rates. With that increase, we proposed a 5% increase across all categories. It was approved. A thing to note is that prior to yesterday or prior to last night's first reading, the city has not had any change to its business tax rate since 2004. Prior to 2004, there was 5% increase in, I believe, around 1994. And so this was a long overdue increase to this tax amount. What it translates to over the next 9 years is that every other year, we would put forth a resolution to the city commission to do a 5% increase. Over a 9-year period, it would amount to about $800,000 in revenue. The impact on the business in real time is, let's say that there's a hair salon that has between 1 and 3 employees. That increase would be at $55.13. So right now, if they were paying, let's say $52, they would be paying around $55. And that's over the next 9 years.
Alrighty, good evening, everyone. So the fire ambulance transport fee, the way we're divided, you heard earlier about the fire assessment fee, which is used to offset the firefighting side. Fire ambulance transport fee is utilized to offset the fire rescue side or paramedics. We have not increased our transport rates since 2017. These are the rates that are directly charged for each individual call when we transport a patient. If the patient is not transported, they are not charged. We're recommending an increase somewhere between 4.5% to 10% rate increase, and this would align us with the other providers in Broward County. We would also be taking it to one common rate, where right now there's a difference between if it's a BLS, ALS, or ALS2 call. The recommendation would be to take it to just one flat rate with the addition of mileage in the transport. Currently, in 2025, at about 8.5 million, and this increase would, if we went for a full 10%, would take us probably to about 9.5 million next year.
The lien search fees. This was implemented many years ago. We've done an ordinance change back in 2015 to upgrade louder. I'm usually very loud. It's very surprising somebody asked me to be louder. In 2015 is the last time we raised the fees. We are currently at $125 for an expedited fee. We did a survey over the municipalities in the area, and quite a few have raised their fees over the past few years and are sitting at a much higher valuation when it comes to the cost per the fee. We're one of the few in the county that offers everything expedited. We don't do a standard fee. So our fees are our lien searches are turned around within 24 to 48 hours at the max. What's entailed in our lien search fees is not just the cost for one person to do it or for the software provider to do it, but it's also, we have several departments that bill on behalf of the city, and we have to research each one of those platforms to see what's in there. So it's a little bit more entailed because it's not one standardized place where everything is held. But the recommendation that we have is to go between $175 and $200 per lien search fee for the expedited. So 40 to 60% growth, depending on how you guys decide to go. And that would equate to about $400,000 in additional revenue for the city for the next year.
In reference to our outdoor permitted events, as many of you all know, this has been a topic of discussion for our city commission for some time. And what we have done over the past, I'd say, year or so is had a few meetings with our city commission, and then more recently, this past summer, had a discussion regarding this particular item. There's a desire, of course, made by this board in a prior year to be more cost benefit to the city to charge more for our outdoor permitted fees. We currently charge $200 per application with a $1,000 late fee, and we are currently meeting and with Chair Brown and some other key stakeholders to evaluate what we are assessing as far as the fees and how we plan to implement that going forward into future for commission consideration. We have an upcoming meeting, I believe it's next week, to kind of go into a bit more detail and formalize those thoughts with our intention to present to city commission relatively soon.
Okay, so the next few slides are gonna go over DSD's fees, which are proposed to be adjusted based on cost recovery as well as methodology. And this includes staff time and costs based on complexity and the scope of reviews. So this includes zoning fees for applications such as Board of Adjustment continuances, meetings with staff about variances, issuance of coastal construction, no objection letters, banner signs. You can go into the next slide, thank you. As another example, currently our right-of-way permits are based on project costs. So since applicants may artificially reduce the project costs, instead we would be proposing to realign these fees with cost recovery and staff time for the reviews. So it would be varied based on the complexity of the review. And then in addition, this would also include administrative site plan reviews, busker permits, community residences, and other similar fees. Next slide. And then lastly, we really want to take a look at some of our permits that would be assessed in respect to the overall impact of the development, such as the square footage and intensity, phasing of larger projects, instead of just focusing on a flat fee, as well as applications and regional activity center sign reviews.
Thank you, Ella. The last category is revenue enhancements for consideration. This is a category where maybe no work's been done yet, but there are ideas that the department's brought forward that we would like some input.
So one of the first ones we have is an idea that actually came from Manager Williams regarding our film permit fees. As it stands today, the city does not have a permit film fee. However, we have many productions that do occur in the city of Fort Lauderdale and that do have an impact in Fort Lauderdale. Right now, when any of those productions go through Broward County to film in Fort Lauderdale, Broward County does not assess a fee. The film production companies do pay any type of related fees through the police department, fire, and also through TAM. There's an opportunity for us to create a structure here. We do intend on coming before the city commission, gonna say in March, to provide a presentation on our findings. We do see film fees as high as $500 per day and as low as $50 per day for production. With our code enforcement administrative fees, These fees are related to cases that do not voluntarily comply and that end up in a quasi judicial process such as code enforcement board or special magistrate. We currently charge a rate of $83 per hearing and a reinspection cost of $46 per inspection. Other jurisdictions charge fees as low as $75 and as high as $225 for cost recovery. Things that we also consider are our contracts with the special magistrate, our costs incurred for recordation of liens, as well as our costs incurred for lien releases for this process.
So as we talk through our revenues that we achieve here through many of our applications that we have in our department, one of the things that we've done throughout the years is to do a survey and do an assessment of how we stack up against other municipalities with similar services and what they're charging and so forth. And as such, similar to our marine industry, we also do a consumer price index review and manage the portions of how we charge at our docks and our rates associated with that. And so as we look through some of these fees here, with our pavilion rentals and some of our facility use rentals, we do a survey of the Tri-County area and assess those fees based off of how we have done them and what we believe we can achieve based on some of our uses that we've had in prior years. One of the things that we do juggle and that we do take into consideration is to still be able to provide not only a sustainable program, but a program that invites and includes everyone. And to do that, there is a sweet spot. It's not a perfect science though, but we do look at these fees from a macro perspective so that we ensure that we provide the services for our community as a whole. Now, as we talk through the aquatic center, one of the challenges here is that that project has a lot going on right now. We've got some construction that's taking place there that also has impacts with limited parking availability. And we have looked at and are going to increase some of our dive team fees or swim team fees rather. But some of the other areas that we are looking at, we probably believe it's best for us to kind of hold off on that now until we have a more polished area so that the construction doesn't impact the actual product that we're giving to the community as a whole.
Okay, so this next proposed fee is something that we would love to get your feedback on today, specifically before we potentially bring it back to the city commission for directive. So staff is proposing to implement a certificate of use process. This is a tool to ensure that businesses in our city operate within our regulations and our zoning requirements. The certificate of use would be required in order to obtain a business tax license. And anytime you do a change in ownership, location, or just change the fundamental nature of the business operations. And really what this is intended to do is help to reduce the after the fact denials and prevent applicants from incurring substantial costs upfront associated with leasing, purchasing a property, doing significant renovations before they really understand if that use is appropriate and permitted in that location. So if directed to move forward, staff would do a full methodology to determine the fee based on that cost recovery, and we would perform additional community outreach and then develop potentially a user-friendly application. Our preliminary analysis shows that based on an average number of business tax records that we've looked at and disapproved building and zoning reviews that had to go through a review process. Again, between 2022 and 2025, there's an average of about 1,700 of those applications that this would impact. So, we just did like a basic, if we applied about an hour and a half worth of staff time at an hourly fee of $159, which is currently the urban design and planning fee, it would result in a minimum fee of about $238 for a revenue impact of over $400,000 annually. And that's on the low end, because again, we do believe that, a lot of those applications would average at more than that hour and a half. So again, we would love to get your specific direction on this today.
Okay, so I know we're holding questions, but I think it's important we stop at this one because we're gonna have to make a recommendation before we leave here tonight. And we'll have, because you're planning on bringing this one up, if I heard you correctly, to the commission in the next month? Okay,
Yes. Yes, we will.
so we'll have to vote on it and communicate that to the commission if we support or not. So I would like to have some discussion on that now. So we don't glaze over it. What's the feel of the board on this? And it's called a certificate of use, and it's for those areas only that's outlined in this slide, correct?
Correct. And just to add a little bit of context, we also have done a lot of research into some other municipalities that have a process like this, including Miami Beach, City of Miami, Miami-Dade County, Broward County. So there are quite a few municipalities that do have this process in place. And again, I think it's with the understanding that it's meant to really save those upfront costs with you know, helping business owners really understand that what they're getting into is appropriate at the location before they put a lot of time and energy into something.
So Ella, would this be different than, and I don't know if you're currently charging, let's say I'm a developer and I come in with my land use attorney before anything goes to DRC or anything, we just said and see if I'm looking to buy a piece of parcel to develop, what can go in there? Are we recouping any cost for that staff time when they're meeting now? Just kind of an administrative type meeting?
Yes, absolutely. This would be like the verification that zoning does, where we would make sure that what you're going into is the appropriate location, it's permitted by zoning. And also, you know, like if it requires other things, like for example, if you need a parking study or a parking reduction analysis, like you might be getting into something that you're not aware of as a business that's opening up in the city. So we're gonna give you a lot of that upfront information as part of that process.
Who's this gonna be, tenants or developers that are paying this?
Both, a lot of tenants, obviously anybody.
Yeah, I would
that-
say mostly tenants, right?
Absolutely, yep, and then, yeah.
So Chair Brown, so there's multiple points of entry for a new business when they come to the city of Fort Lauderdale. Sometimes it's business tax, sometimes it's urban design and planning, sometimes it's the building department. So economic development. So what this will do is it'll provide a more focused point of entry for those new businesses or those people changing locations. But a lot of times the most common point of entry for somebody into our market is a landlord when they're looking to lease or rent a space. So what we found is that there's a need or probably a benefit to having a process by which somebody can come to the city, as Ella said, get that complete rundown of what it is, start to finish, that person's going to need to go through to start a business. So again, somebody coming in paying $238 and get that information may decide they don't want to spend $10,000 on a parking study because now they find out they have to spend $10,000, and they're finding this all out before they sign a lease with the landlord.
How does it coincide with their certificate of occupancy?
So that would be one of the things that this certificate reveals is how to get to that certificate of occupancy. So if somebody comes in and says, I want to open up a hair salon, so that seems to be the example today, but in a blank space or a space that used to be an administrative office, right?
Sure.
You know, they go lease that space thinking all they gotta do is come in and flip the lights on and put a sink in, and in reality, you know, there's plumbing permits, there's ADA requirements, there's parking requirements that are different for a hair salon than that was for that administrative office. So the intent again behind this is that this takes all of that uncertainty out because we're creating that single point of entry for that entrepreneur, that business owner to come in and get all that information on the front end rather than finding it out piecemeal or after they've signed a lease and they're locked in.
And then to be clear, what's the process and like what resources are available to them from the city? If I'm a tenant right now and I'm gonna open that nail salon, who am I going to and who gives me that information?
And that's really kind of what this is trying to solve. Sometimes people come straight to the business tax office and they just apply for their business tax. Sometimes they'll go to our zoning counter and they'll to see if their use is permitted. Sometimes they go straight to building permitting because, you know, they need to install a new feature in their building. So again, there's these multiple points of entry, and the idea behind this is to really focus that and streamline it into one single point of entry that also provides
all the information that person needs to know all the requirements and fees and potential pitfalls of that new business operating or opening before they invest in it too much.
And then us communicating that this, if it enacts, we would go mainly to the landlords, to the, something that's new, and obviously tenants and leases are getting signed every day.
Yes, Ella and the DSD team have thought a lot about this, so I'll let her share more detail, but one of the things we did as a city is we've implemented a new economic development division within our community services department, so one of the things we want to do is really work through that group to promote a lot of these types of business opportunities and programs that we have, but I'll let Ella.
Yeah, I think that's just such an excellent question because, if you looked at the chart today, if you're a new business person and you sort of kind of try to look at what's my path forward to getting to that yes at the end, it's a little bit convoluted and not as obvious. And I think with this application, we would really try to help by making the application process more seamless and also show that it can be a lot easier doing it online and electronically, and we would create those paths to kind of show you, make it really user friendly. Here's what I need, here's where I go, here's the next step. If I'm this kind of business and I need a liquor license, I also need this additional step. If I don't need that, I go to this step and I move forward. So hopefully, we would, if we got the directive to move forward, we would try to create a path that's a lot more.
And this would become mandatory in that? This would become mandatory with a minimum of 1.5 hours, so a minimum of whatever, there's $250 or whatever it is.
Oh, that wouldn't be, no, that we could work out as part of the methodology. It would be mandatory to do a certificate of use prior to opening a business, I thought is what you were asking.
Okay, so yes, correct, so that is, and that's a fee.
Right, exactly, but that fee could be adjusted based on, like, if we get the directive to move forward, we'll create a much more robust methodology. This was just a stab at like, hey, if we adopted this, just to give you an idea preliminarily, at minimum, we would probably be looking at this kind of cost recovery.
Okay.
Could you share how this might impact a renewal of a business tax?
Correct, right. So also, if you're fundamentally changing the business, that would also trigger those types of permits. If you're changing ownership, that would also trigger it as well. So we looked at all of that.
Is this the same for nonprofits as well as for profit?
Any business, but again, if those are parameters that the commission wants to look at or we get directed to kind of consider differently, we certainly can.
Yeah, and I would say the impetus behind this is really from the lens of a process improvement. I mean, folks at DSD, and I came from DSD, so I've seen this too, but we've seen and experienced people navigating our current processes. So this is really born out of wanting to create a way that creates that process improvement, creates some efficiency. Obviously it comes with a cost because it's service delivery at the end of the day, but it's really started with the intent of trying to create that process that makes.
Have you guys had conversations with some of the major retail ownerships that are, entrenched in that they've owned stuff for a while? There's a couple on Las Olas that own most of Las Olas, and there's a couple locally. Have you had conversations with those folks who have also been on boards throughout the city over
We've
the
had
last 30
some-
years?
Yes, economic,
Got feedback?
yes.
I mean, I can name some of you, but feedback from some of them, have you?
Right, yeah, and we would do a little bit more of that outreach as well, but like I said, we did some robust research.
I would be curious.
Looking at, what other places do, and you'd also be surprised, like it also is going to relieve some of those situations where people really spend a ton of their investment on refurbishing a place and then to find out like, oh, by the way, like this.
It does happen if you have a mom and pop landlord and tenant. It does.
The Economic Development Advisory Board, do you want to share?
Okay.
Yeah,
Are
and
there any
yeah,
other
we've got a
questions or-
general.
Before we make a decision, if it's something that we can support or to move forward.
One question or and remarks. Chris, what is the downside? I mean, we could have thought of it much earlier. I think if there were examples of other cities who have actually implemented that, did you see any downside or risk to this approach?
Again, I came from DSD and we've taken runs at this from time to time, from a process improvement perspective. It just never came together in a way that we developed this process that we thought would work. And, I think now because of the examples we saw and just the more concerted effort towards it, we feel like this is the
right process.
So the other remark that I would make is that I think it's an excellent opportunity to bring it within the scope of economic development and make a point of entry, like you said, or a concierge service, whatever you, but I would really encourage you guys to market it and make it accessible and prominent in terms of Stratcom towards business owners, people who don't know the city and don't know how to approach it. Not only the existing landlords and people who renew a business. So I think there's a huge opportunity, much wider than the cost recovery, which I celebrate, obviously. But I think that's an opportunity to maybe redesign from a customer centric, again, a point of view. How do we make that channel obvious, clear, and easy to navigate? And then the cost recovery or the fee associated with it will seem natural, if not, encouraging. So I think it's a great opportunity.
Can I just add, because I've seen this in practice and it's not the end all be all. There will still be those businesses that will get a lease and they're not officially registered as a business and they're gonna potentially start their operation. So I think the marketing and communications of this program is not only to highlight the certificate of use process, but to say, hey, you need to get a business tax receipt. You need to go through the official process
Did you
to
get to landlords and
be established.
police, like what happened to you in Miami Beach you're talking about?
Yes.
Was there any feedback onto tenants saying this is just another thing or it's taking forever? Is it something that, I don't wanna run into, I just don't want it to be another fee for tenants, another thing that business have to do, that make us look bad. Another something they go in and feel like they can't get an answer, can't get an email back. It's another thing that delayed a lease, another thing that delayed their business opening. I'm just playing devil's advocate. That's why I would vote against it if I felt like it was gonna start doing that to tenants or it's redundant with the CFO. I just wanna make sure that it's worth it for us and for them.
So when I don't know if that was a question, but.
Yeah, it was.
When I got to Miami Beach, this process was combined. So certificate of use and business tax receipt, that was all rolled into one. And the feedback from the businesses was, we need to bifurcate the process, get the certificate of use done first, then transition into the BTR. So that you could have all the ducks in a row before you get to the next step where it's gonna ask for all those additional certifications or backup materials saying that you can legitimately operate this kind of business in this area.
And I promise, I think this last question, will they go to this department while they're negotiating a lease to get an idea of whether they can use that, or they're still gonna go to the zoning directly, or is there? Cause that's what happens, right? You're in a lease, once you sign a lease, you're
I think the
contractually
policy-
obligated, so if you can't do it there, you're, lack of a better word, screwed. So through the lease process, the smart tenants will go to the city and get an indication. Is that this department or is that still the other one?
Yes, that would still be us. And to your point, hopefully it does help alleviate some of that. I think what you're saying, this process would actually solve. So right now, we're not perfect and we have plenty of those times like Chris and the manager alluded to where an applicant will come and they get sent multiple departments because did they get the zoning verification? Oh, no, you have to go to this person.
Right.
Cause even our own staff, based on the business that's coming in, isn't always giving the right information. So this, I think, just makes it clearer for everyone, including staff reviewing it. And it avoids a lot of like the after the effect, issues and compatibility also with our neighborhoods and, where a business is going in. I think this kind of puts that out front and solves some of those issues as well.
So I just have to ask, and I'm like, do I really need to recuse myself for this vote? But how that affects a mall, like, so we obviously do a lot of leases, right? You have somebody come in, like small business wanting to open a temp tenant, right? Like, could be a 6-month lease. How, what's the timeline of getting something like this approved before we can go to an agreement or lease? And what is there a holdup? I can also think of the plus side because I can think of someone right now that this would have really helped.
Yeah.
So I see both sides to streamline it, but I also see it from the other side. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think
like, as far as the details, you just brought up a really excellent point about the mall and sort of the, you know, the nature of the businesses there, and as those switch out, I think that there's probably ways to look at this as we really get like into the details and depths of figuring out a good methodology to kind of alleviate those so it's even more seamless. But again, if you need to verify your zoning and go through that review regardless. So this is just saying, do it up front as your first step, as opposed to kind of being pushed back and forth around the different divisions. So to me, it seems more seamless all around.
Okay, Jason or Melinda, do you have any questions before we decide on what direction we're going to take?
I do not.
Linda?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the board is, and what you're asking for is this something, the process of certificate of use that this body could support moving forward for consideration to the city commission? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, if we were to receive a recommendation, we would love to include that as part of the backup, moving this forward to the commission to get their directive.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the board? I mean, I can see the more benefit.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm coming in as a small business owner, I don't want to get 2 months into a process and I've already spent with legal fees and everything, $10,000. And have a signed lease, all of a sudden figure out I can't do it. So for a minimal fee of $238, it's a well spent.
Chairman, why don't we actually suggest that we test it in real time for certain number of volume or month duration and see what the feedback?
I don't think that has to be set by ordinance,
Practically,
yeah.
stuff, yeah.
You know, I mean, we can make the recommendation then that the commission then reviews it, what, a year later? Is that possible?
Like a pilot program, you mean?
Yes, pilot program, yeah, because you haven't conducted it, right? You came up with a great re-engineering or a concept, but and I asked again, Chris, if there were some downside that you've learned from other cities who have implemented it before.
I probably suggest.
I think it would be reasonable to do a pilot program and suggest it to the city commission.
If I can add some information regarding how business taxes are processed now, because there has not been an official pilot of the certificate of use process. But business tax does do a process right now where they route applications to each of the divisions affected, such as zoning and building permitting. And what I will tell you is that there's typically a very long delay in the process because we don't have a streamlined process such as the certificate of use. So I think that if we were to compare how long it takes from application to issuance of a business tax and look at that long lag time, and then compare if we decide to move forward with the adoption of the certificate of use, we would see a major improvement in how quickly a business can receive a business tax license by way of a certificate of use.
So that would be a great benchmark.
Absolutely.
I think if we come to the city commission with a benchmark, then the decision or the vote can be even more convincing.
So what I'm hearing from some board members is that there is a flavor to support this as a pilot program, possibly for 1 year, similar to what we did with the food and beverage license on the beach of the hotels. It was set up, if you recall, as a 1 year pilot. And after 1 year, there was no problems, concerns, no complaints, and it just moved forward.
Which would also give the benefit for the city staff to actually think of that within the context of this new economic development leadership that you have. So I think that perfectly fits into a good experiment, and you'll be fully ready then to have a solid program.
You know, I think too is just from the other side of actually, doing the work. If there's like an AI agent could be developed for each, like a salon that would run through every single possible thing that you would need to know. Cause if you charge $238, how much, hourly time of our people spending on it? Is it worth it? Is that the right price to do that? But it seems like that would be a real, place where you could really once you've developed everything that possibly, like, I think we see a lot of, I've seen a couple that like someone's developing a dental office, and the parking issue was always a concern. How many spaces do you have to have, and was there enough spaces in the property to do that? And then, and also like as far as the plumbing and electrical, so it could really run it through that pretty quickly from that side of it too. You gotta look at it.
We can make the motion if we need to. The motion would be for the Budget Advisory Board to have the commission develop a pilot plan for this program. Develop a few benchmarks, and then in 1 year's time, we all review together to make it permanent. And then I think at that time, we revisit and have it due on a permanent basis.
Should we say 1 year or 6 months?
I said 1 year, but
1 year from date of adoption.
Yeah.
it takes time
Okay.
to implement and get feedback.
Okay,
Second.
okay. We have a second by Oliver. Is there any discussion before we do a roll call vote? Chair requests a roll call vote.
Ms. Bowker?
Yes, I agree.
Mr. Kale?
Yes.
Mr. DeGirolamo?
Yes.
Mr. Joffres?
Yes.
Ms. Matildas Thompson?
Yes.
Ms. Milroy?
Yes.
Mr. Orlani?
Yes.
Ms. Priman Jones?
Yes.
And Chair Brown?
Yes,
Passed 9-0.
9-0. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for answering all the questions.
Proceed with the last two slides of your presentation.
Can we get back to the bigger feedback and questions regarding the overall presentation of all those revenue announcements, Sherman?
Yes,
Because we address one very specific subject.
okay, go ahead.
I don't.
Because I think provide us with a timeline so that we can, staff just plug it into our work plan.
I would still, if I may, as far as I'm concerned, and I mean, you can do a round table if you want, but I just want to commend the leadership behind all that for trying to find revenue announcement on, we're talking about $100 million. I mean, 18% of 522. So it's still small buckets, but small buckets and small buckets make big buckets. So I celebrate that approach. I think it's a very good sign that you guys are listening. It can be frustrating sometimes that regulations prevent us from catching up. My concern is, I don't want to get back to the past, but why those rates were not raised earlier? When I hear some of the dates that were mentioned, 2017, I mean, it's 99 years. I can't believe that we haven't looked at that. So it's time to catch up within the confines of regulatory framework, obviously. I wish the business tax would be more at the level of benchmark, because I have looked at it, you have looked at it, staff. We were late, we were really behind compared to the other cities. So 5%, we'll take it. I hope in 2 years, we'll take another 5%. I'm really curious about if we can get the amount of money of each of these buckets that each bucket represents in terms of revenue. I think that would help everybody to realize small buckets become big buckets, big rivers. I think that would participate to the education of this board, new members especially. And last but not least, I wanted to know if the regulation, whatever the category of fee, especially state share, how much latitude do we have? How do we define reasonable, and how often can we raise? Because I heard that answer about the every 2 years for the business tax, but other taxes, is there for every tax a different rule on how often and how much you can raise?
So for the taxes, they're laid out in Florida state statute, so each one's gonna have its own sort of rule, so it depends on which one you're asking about. But for the proprietary fees and the other fees that the city sets, typically we can do them mid-year or, you know, whatever. If it's an ordinance, we need 2 readings of an ordinance. There's no limitation on how frequently we do them.
So for our education, could this board get added to that presentation, not only the amount of revenue that each bucket represent, but also the regulatory framework and limitations in terms of rate increase, you know, the latitude that you guys, us as a city, we have in regards with each of those.
The requirements for implementing.
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be helpful, I think.
It's in the revenue manual, so maybe we should send out that thing, because it shows the historic amounts, projected amounts, the regulatory framework under which those items are.
Just having it in
Yeah.
that presentation would be easier for us to reconcile and digest.
Got it. So the amount that estimated additional revenue that could be generated and the requirements for implementing.
Yeah, what's the latitude of the city? How much, what's a good practice and how often can we raise percentage per year or all the limitations that we can work within? Does it make sense to everybody or?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, is there any other I know we're approaching 7:25. Any other questions before we move on? Because I have a couple other items I would like to talk about. The film, okay, go ahead.
For Park and Recreation, as you were talking about providing services for everyone within the community, has the city of Fort Lauderdale started to provide services for for the special needs population?
So that's actually a good question. We currently have I'm gonna call it like a subdivision, if you would, for to do assessments for children or individuals that need special care and but we do not have like a special needs like division per se. We do incorporate and we try not to turn away any child or adult that may have some special abilities and needs to incorporate them into our program.
So, for example, as you mentioned, with all the renovations that were done for the tennis program, okay, do we have any, for example, autism trained coaches like they do in the city of Pembroke Pines or in Coconut Creek, where they have services specifically for special need population, because that is a population that is increasing daily. But if you live in the city of Fort Lauderdale right now, you have to travel to Pembroke Pines or some other city. And like, that's a huge area where we can provide that service and keep those revenue dollars here for swimming, for tennis, and these are major.
Yes, so we don't necessarily have coaches that have the training that specialize in individuals on the spectrum, but we do offer like wheelchair tennis, wheelchair basketball, kind of an adaptation of a sport so that we are inclusive for individuals with limitations, if you would, on that sense.
So
Carl,
we don't have that. I mean, like right now, 1 out of 52 children on the spectrum, and we see lots of kids through Parks and Recs. So that's.
Yeah, and so it is an interesting item, and to be honest, we haven't really received a lot of requests for that, but it's certainly something that we can look into and also engage through any kind of budget process we would need to do to be able to financially provide that.
So Carl, so we stay in our lane, but it's a great question and leads me to ask the question about hardship cases, especially if someone wants to use the Everett Tennis Center. So I would encourage you to go back and unless you've already had that discussion with the Parks and Rec Board, to look at what Annetta brought up, and also is there a hardship case policy for those facilities? Okay, thank you. the film recommendation at some point will be moving to the commission. Just put that, please bring that back before us as you see the appropriate time. The other comment I had is looking at permits for hire vehicles. It's the golf carts and those types of things, and I had a conversation with Transportation Mobility because as you're moving forward that ordinance, you have a fee for the application process, then you have a permit fee. And the permit fee is based on the county's fee that's been around for years. So why would we be moving forward with the recommendation on a permit fee that's been around for like cabs in that nature? So I would encourage staff to look at, as we're going through all fees, look at all permit fees. And the only other thing I had on is I wanted to give a quick update on the goal setting session that the commission had. I attended it. I'll give you my quick and down and dirty takeaway, and then I'll ask the city manager or Yvette to chime in and follow up with me. I think the priorities pretty much aligned with what the priorities were last year. They pointed out a couple other things they want to explore, but I think we stay focused on the priorities, which are homelessness, public safety, infrastructure, and then there was a couple other ideas discussed. Well, I'll let the city manager or Yvette bring those up as your takeaway from the session.
Sure, so I'll start with a couple of the items that staff brought forward to the city commission for discussion and feedback. One of the areas of major concern for us as we go into negotiating the city hall project was to identify the appropriate target budget for the project, and the city commission did give us some feedback on that. We have traditionally, over the past couple of years, been planning for what could be a $200 million project. And although we saw, proposals come in at different price points, the commission did identify that target of 200 million plus or minus, with a little bit of room to either go up or go down, but with a focus on that target number, they gave us that feedback that we should, in our negotiations, look to come in at that point. So I thought that was very important for us. Granted, we haven't gone through all of the options for financing and what the developer partner would be bringing to the table, but it gave us a good understanding of what the commission envisions for the future of the project. In addition, one of the things that I had learned about as I was entering the city in communications with various stakeholders is, and with our police chief, is that there had been some inquiries about a possible fourth police district. And we looked at data and looked at where calls for service were. And we asked the commission if that's something that staff should continue to explore. Currently, there are 3 police districts. They are not, the boundaries do not coincide with, the commission, 3 commission districts. And it's not that we're adding a 4th to go with the 4th commission district. It's just mapped out differently across our city based on various factors. So that discussion led the commission to give us the direction to continue to explore what that would look like. We, on a preliminary basis, we don't think that that is going to result in a request for additional officers. We're looking at rearranging our personnel from the different districts to try to bring some balance and to focus on where our primary needs are in terms of cost for service. And so the commission did give us the go-ahead to, keep looking at it, and that I'm sure is gonna come back to this board for further discussion. And, we'll see how the numbers shake out, but I don't know today that would cause us to have a significant increase in personnel based on what our police department has already put together in coordination with our Office of Management and Budget. And Yvette, I'll turn the rest over to you if you wanna.
Yeah, so outside of that, we had discussions about broadband. That was one of their priorities over the last year. And we really wanted to map out what broadband expansion looks like for our city. What it looks like was focusing more on sharing with our neighbors the resources that are currently available for broadband. For those who may need financial assistance for broadband, there are a lot of programs that people just don't know about. And so we want to make sure that we're working with our strategic communications team to message that information out so our neighbors have access to these programs. We currently have a pilot program, so the commission also provided some information about continuing the pilot program, which provided free access in targeted low-income areas. And so we will continue to explore that. You'll probably see something along those lines as part of the budget development process. And then outside of that, the commission's goals really stay very similar to what we've seen in the past. Public safety continues to be a major initiative. Infrastructure will always be a major initiative. But there are some flavor changes. There was some more emphasis on transportation and traffic. And so, you know, that comes on and off the priorities from year to year. So I think it really gave us really good guidance on where we need to focus over the year to come.
Okay, well, thank you. Excellent, quick overview, but I wanted the board to hear so that we kind of keep it on our radar screen as we move to the next several months of the budget process. And then the other thing was I had requested about the lawsuits, and I know there's someone here tonight. I don't have any questions that I kind of look at it. If I do have any follow-up questions or any board member, you know, it's a number of cases. It's pretty consistent. It takes about a 2-year process to resolve, and it's within what you anticipate budget wise. So if I have any additional, you know, I don't want to cut you short, but you know, it's after 7:30. But if there's any questions, I'll do a quick go around of everybody and we'll wrap up the meeting.
On that point, was it part of the material attached? I didn't
Yes.
see it. I'm sorry. I missed it. Okay. Okay.
You'll have another opportunity when we do our What Keeps You Up at Night and we look at the HR department. Our risk team is part of HR. This team has done some amazing work that they've shared with you all over the past few years, like installing cameras in some of our vehicles to help reduce some of our claims and liability related things. So you'll have an opportunity to talk to Jerome when he comes as well. So this isn't your only opportunity to ask some of those questions.
And thank you for sitting here tonight and listening.
So late.
Yeah. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns from the board? Closing remarks, staff?
I would note that we would like to send some potential changes in dates for the June meeting and for the August meeting. Charmaine is still looking at availability and moving around some rooms, so we'll be sending an email if that works, and then we can memorialize it at the next meeting. So, and it's because both in June and in August, the joint meeting with the commission has now been locked in, and it happens to be before the joint meeting,
Right.
before your meeting to prepare. So we're trying to secure locations and dates. What we'll likely be proposing is the Wednesday before what's on the agenda right now. Charmaine, is that, oh, so you did lock in the room?
The date, I'm just saying, it was supposed to be June 10th, but I'm waiting on confirmation of.
Okay, so we have to try to find a location to share with you. So we're gonna share out a couple of dates and socialize that, and then at the next meeting, we'll look to memorialize that if that works for this team. We do have some time between now and June, but we have identified because we've just finalized the dates for the joint meetings, which are locked in now on the calendar. We'll need to move this.
Melinda, just get her back in because she's waiting. She has a question.
I think she is.
All right, Melinda.
Hands raised, she just muted.
Okay, welcome back.
Yeah, okay, sorry. No, just one quick question. I'm sorry, I got, I was off for a few minutes, but Laura, just one thing. Thank you for sending me the taxable revenue chart for District 4 versus the other 3 districts. But what I was wondering is, could you share that with the whole board, but can we also just do it individually by district
Yeah.
Instead of just District 4 versus a conglomeration of District 1, 2, 3.
That's a good idea, Melinda.
Yeah, and we can share some of that data with you all. And, you know, it's really important to note that, you know, what Commissioner Sorensen likes to talk about as like a whole city. And so sometimes data, as Olivier was sharing earlier, the way that we present data can tell different stories. And so as we share that information, we'll make sure that, you know, we're providing the chart, but just be careful with the story that you tell with the data that comes out of it, because there are some sensitivities that go along with that. So just one thing to be mindful.
Yes, totally understand that, you know, there's sensitivity and breaking it out, but truly it's not, I think it's just data. And I think that, I think it's just information, and then we can, you know, talk about it or take it from there. But I really do not think that there's, any downside in just having the data. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing it by district. I know you've done the market value and then the taxable value. And I think this is just a data point. So, and obviously we work for the city as a whole and strive for the best for all residents.
I'll say.
Good. Well, again, I want to compliment staff. I mean, as chair, prior to being chair and sitting on the budget board a couple of years prior to that, I mean, the amount of information staff we ask and keep bringing, it's unbelievable. And I can't say enough good things about it. I know it's some long meetings. You think we're drilling you, but.
And you're gonna get more with the task assignment. So thank you for your patience. But I think better question leads to better answers and better outcomes. So I think we all work towards the same goal in different ways.
Thank you, Chair, for that recognition. And our team does try to provide prompt responses, good data. You know, we check each other and make sure that.
And as chair, I don't want to rush agenda items through. And that's why we spend a little time going over Oliver's, the matrix and the assignments, so that everyone had a clear understanding. As we move forward, we'll get a better product. So sometimes on the front end, I know we had a commitment that we'd get out early, and we are getting it out early. We're about 5 minutes ahead of last month. That's early to me. We're 5 minutes earlier, so, you know, we're at 2 hours and 40 minutes. But thank you, everyone. Thanks all board members, staff. Hey. Meeting, motion adjourned.
I'm looking across the room and I know I'm not alone.
Yeah.
I see why I let them.
Ella, you have to go home. You can't stay here anymore.
Staying.
Good job, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's what I think.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Get out of the way.
Right, and so what I would do. But we miss you on the beginning. So you're taking one.
Like a deadline.
I know it's gonna be an agenda item.
Oh, yeah, 'cause I told Stephanie I'm giving her.
Don't slow.